Hello, everyone. We're so excited you're here. Thanks for joining us this morning, this afternoon, this evening, wherever you may be. We will get started in just a couple of seconds, but as we do that, please know that we will be recording and posting this conversation for future reference. So if you are as excited as I am about hearing from Kathryn, you will have the opportunity to kind of really listen again if you need to. So again, welcome. Just to kick off, my name is Erin Bound-Anderson. I'm the Director of Community Innovation here at Geeks Without Frontiers, and I help run the Program Management Office for the N50 project. It's my pleasure to be the MC for the first N50 For Womenkind speaker series of 2024. I'm here with my colleague Angie Marr, Director of International Programs. And we're so excited about today. For Womenkind is N50's team of women thought leaders who are dedicated to prioritizing women and girls' agency through digital access and participation. For those of you who are joining and unfamiliar with the N50 project, the N50 project is a global program focused on accelerating digital adoption and community enrichment through innovative applications, network design, and business models to enable the next 3 billion people to participate in the digital world. Broadband adoption is being accelerated and is sustained through N50's commercial, nonprofit, government, and community partnerships. Over 160 organizations now from throughout the digital ecosystem have joined, and together we make up the N50. So N50 partners are rich in talent, and we have no shortage of incredible women leaders. I am constantly inspired by the N50 women who are making a difference all across the ecosystem. Our collective commitment to digital participation includes ultimately a commitment to the well-being of communities, and specifically understanding the influence of how and when women and girls' access is expanded. There is significant impact on communities at large. Our goal is to ensure that women and girls have increased sustainable access and opportunities to education, healthcare, leadership, and economic security. Our For Womenkind group that you're joining today, membership includes women from our N50 partnership organizations. So if you're on this call and you're not yet a member of the N50 organization or as an N50 partner or charter supporter, we would love to add you to the ecosystem. In the chat, we'll drop a link to become a charter supporter, and that will activate the process of onboarding you to this phenomenal team. And every other month, we host a speaker through our For Womenkind speaker series, a woman who we can all learn from. And without further ado, I'd like to introduce you to our speaker today. So Kathryn Compton has been with World Vision for over 30 years and currently serves as Chief Development Officer. A dynamic and innovative leader in her work at World Vision, Kathryn developed and leads Strong Women, Strong World, a global initiative mobilizing people to use their collective power in support of World Vision's mission to partner with families and communities worldwide, especially women and girls, in breaking the cycle of poverty. Kathryn brings energy, compassion, and innovation, both as a fundraiser and an advocate for women and the disenfranchised. She is uniquely gifted at identifying and empowering community leaders here in the United States, as well in some of the most underdeveloped and impoverished places in the world. Her deep commitment and love to the poor, marginalized people of the world is evident in everything she does and touches everyone she meets in a profound way. Kathryn joined the board of directors for Global Impact in March 2015 and Global Washington in 2021. A graduate of the University of Arizona, Kathryn currently resides in Tacoma, Washington. Please help me welcome Kathryn. And thank you, Kathryn, for being here. We are so excited to engage in this conversation through For Womenkind.
Well, thank you, Erin, and thank you. I'm honored to be here, and thank you for that very impressive introduction. And hopefully, I will be able to live up to all of those wonderfully kind things you had to say. So, thank you for having me here today.
My pleasure, my pleasure. Well, so let's start, Kathryn, with some more of your personal background a little bit, and tell us a little bit how you ultimately ended up at World Vision. Would you mind sharing that with us?
Oh, not at all. It's a great question, and I believe that every step of the way has prepared me for where I am today. I am the eldest of 9 children. I grew up in a cattle ranching family in northern Mexico, and I was able to see firsthand the impact of lack of access, lack of opportunity had on children and families, and especially women. I watched my mother in a way to that it was not called community development, but it was community development that she was doing. She taught women how to read, how to she delivered babies, how to start small businesses in a very rural context. But living in Mexico in a very machista environment with my great grandfather, of my 7 brothers, they were not being trained or allowed to do any kind of household chores or any dynamics. There was already that inequity in our household that I was experiencing out in the communities that we were living in. And so she sat down with my great grandfather and with my father and said, I really believe that my sons need to be fully liberated, and they need to understand how to care for themselves and not be dependent on a woman for anything. So they learned how to cook, how to clean, how to sew buttons, how to iron. And that changed the entire dynamics in our household. It changed their how they respected their wives, their daughters, and so it's changed the whole culture in our family community, which has been wonderful. And I grew up knowing that there wasn't anything I couldn't do if I put my mind to it, and I worked at it. So that gave me a heart and a passion for working with women that were marginalized, but it also gave me an approach of reconciliation. We're not going to achieve anything if we diminish the role of men and boys in our lives. We have to do both. Then we'll have another problem. We'll have to have a strong men, strong world programming, right? And so we're just trying to bring it into equitable relationships for them. All that said, I came to World Vision for a 90-day temp job over 30 years ago. And when I walked into the building, I just thought, could I work here forever? Because I believed all of my past experiences, from ranching to hospitality business to a logging business to commercial construction, had prepared me exactly for this type of role, with the comfort of having one foot in the developing world and one foot in the developed world. That was a very long answer for a very quick question, but
Oh, it's
and that's how I ended up where I am today.
Amazing. You just a temp job turned into something that lasted quite a bit longer than that. That's amazing. And just for the group listening as well, and I forgot to mention this earlier, please feel free to type questions in the chat or the Q&A at the bottom. We'll be happy to integrate those as we go. But let's keep on this conversation, Kathryn. So it sounds like your childhood and those formative years really had a great impact on your passion for gender equality, and you were able to bring that passion with you to your work at World Vision. Would you share with us, and you mentioned it a little bit, would you share with us how Strong Women, Strong World started specifically?
Absolutely. Back in the late 90s and early 2000s, as we were looking at the progress that we had made globally, we were watching, especially in the continent of Africa, a diminishing of the progress that we were making against poverty. And it was due to HIV and AIDS. And so we were really being intentional on how we approach that, both programmatically in the field, how we were advocating for policy, and how we were engaging influencers and donor base to be able to respond to that pandemic. And what we, especially the American church, to be able to take a role as a Christian organization, it was very critical for us to engage the faith community in addressing the challenges of the countries that we were working in, especially because most of those communities that we work in are communities of faith, some type of faith. And what we found is that when we would invite faith leaders to hear about the pandemic or a potential response to the pandemic, we would invite, for example, 100 pastors, and maybe 6 would show up because there was so much stigma attached to it at that time. But if you invited a women's group, you'd have 300 show up. Why? Because they were not as concerned with how a woman became a widow or how a child became an orphan. They just were concerned that there were widows and there were orphans. And it gave us a very unique opportunity. If there was any good news about HIV and AIDS, it really allowed us to look at the underlying injustices for women and girls, and access for women and girls through the pandemic. The hidden face of AIDS, we called it.
Yeah.
And so that's essentially where we got there. We saw that response. And then, so therefore, the need to focus on the work programmatically with women and girls, and then how to mobilize women here in the United States to raise awareness to the issues that women and girls face, use their influence, involve their relationships that lead to resources.
That's amazing.
So,
That's amazing. How would you say currently, so that came out, I love this idea of seeing that women, the emergence of them as this powerful group really inspired this work. And so how would you say, I'm sorry, that by addressing these kind of root causes that are important to women, how specifically is World Vision working to open up these opportunities that maybe wouldn't have happened otherwise? And I know that N50 partners often talk about access to digital solutions is becoming more and more root as well. But what are some of these root causes, and then how many women and girls has World Vision reached?
Right. Those are great questions. Let me start first with some of the tremendous inequities that, as I've traveled the world, as in fact, I told you earlier this morning that I just got back on Saturday from over a week in Kenya and a week in Rwanda, looking at these very specific issues. But we know by shining an intentional light on the challenges and the issues that women and girls face, the barriers to progress, that we will not do anything about poverty until we're looking at half of the population, which is women and girls, the most vulnerable, the most marginalized in this aspect. So through that, we've identified through our core programming, as the largest provider of clean water in the world, we know that women and girls are the ones that are carrying the burden of access to water. They're spending 200 million hours daily walking for water, which means they're not able, as women, they're not able to do any type of nurturing in their homes. Their health is compromised from the walking with the heavy loads of water. They're not able to do economic generating and opportunities or efforts. And girls are denied access to education. By the time they show up to school, they're tired. They're not able to do everything that they're supposed to do. So we look at the access to water. For us, that is the tipping point. You have to start there. Nothing starts without water. We're also looking at girls specifically that are married young. We've just gotten some new estimates that 12 million girls every year are married before the age of 18. And many times it's not consensual. That's 22 girls every minute. So girls are a commodity in many families for the dowry price or the bride price. And so the children, when economics are rough, or by culture or social or even spiritual norms in these communities, daughters are monetized and sold off. We also see that pregnancy and childbirth is one of the deadliest things a woman can do in the world. It's the cause of death, the leading cause of death in girls ages 15 to 19 globally. And then also in the financial services, only 68% of women have access to financial services. That means bank accounts, loans, anything that's going to improve the standard of their household. So, so we've had a very intentional focus, shining the light on the barriers, as I said earlier, and the challenges, but then also being responsive that frees them up to reach their full potential. So in our previous campaign that we had, we were able, that we had for 7 years that ended in 2022, our goal was to reach 30 million women. And we reached 30,144,000 women and girls. And so we're very excited about that. We're celebrating it, that we're exceeding, but now we've taken on a far more lofty or ambitious, audacious type goal. That's frankly, that is a little bit scary, to say the least, but we are hoping to reach $150 million, 150 million women by 2030. And to live safer and healthier and more productive lives by having access to opportunity and just that little flick that they need to be able to ignite and do all of their full potential.
Wow, that is an incredible goal. It reminds me of the N50 goal, right? Just 50% of the planet, that's all we're working on. But I'm guessing you have some incredible partners who will help you reach that goal. Would you mind sharing about some of those partnerships and how they've impacted the work that World Vision does?
Oh, absolutely. Well, let me start with one of the biggest private funding partners that we work with, as well as many others, but not only through the funding access on the partnership, but on the advocacy role or highlighting it. And that's with the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. And she has done a tremendous amount of work of really leading not only intentional focus in programmatic efforts and responses of access to clean water, economics, education, healthcare, all of those sort of things in the developing world, but she has also highlighted the importance of women philanthropists and women advocates by doing studies through Indiana University, Lilly School of Philanthropy, Women's Philanthropy Institute, and really highlighting that women have voice. They want bottom line success. They transfer values to their children sooner than men do. Nothing wrong with men, but it's just in the DNA of women to do that sooner. Very solutions-based, and they're empathetic because many of them have hit that glass ceiling, like many of us in this room, of where you have to break through. And so she has done a tremendous amount to really highlight the importance of the here connecting with the there. We also are working with other private organizations, Golf for Africa, which was founded by a former LPGA Hall of Famer who had an interest in addressing HIV and AIDS and has now moved into really advocating through her sphere of influence for advocating raising funds for water. We have a professional woman cyclist who has formed an organization to ride her bike and involving others in an Aspen bike ride called Break the Cycle. And there is Global Impact, another partnership that is doing a tremendous amount of work, and Clean Water Here, who is leading, putting women in the center of access, empowerment of access through water, economic empowerment, and access to capital. And Imago Dei, who funds really the root impact indicators in our programming so that we know that we're successful, so that we're tracking in all of our work what the impact is on women and girls for agency, for decision making, for transformation. And then we also, and Procter and Gamble is another great partner that we have with us that's very intentional on gender equity. And then another one, other two that I wanted to mention are on the academic side. So those are funding partners, those are influence partners, but it's important that we're backing up the work that we're doing with data, right? And evidence-based data that we're making progress. And so we're in the midst of a very intensive, wonderful, exciting research with Emory University. And we do a lot of work with UNC, University of North Carolina. So those are just a few, and Columbia University, I should mention Columbia. We've done quite a bit with them on the gender equity side.
That's
So that
incredible.
was, again, another very long answer for a simple question.
No, but it is at the heart of why we are so excited as N50 to talk to you, who clearly understands that sort of our motto is stronger together, right? That
Mhm.
that
Mhm.
it resonates because there is more that we can do together than any one of us can do alone, even if we are a huge company or organization. We can do more by partnering these levels of expertise together. Um, and I love your comment about academic institutions as well as right. And that's exactly the spirit of N50 is we have a large tent in which there's a role for everyone. And
Mhm.
World Vision as an N50 partner is a treasured piece of the puzzle for us as well. So in an effort to kind of stitch our speakers that we've had in this For Womenkind series together a little bit, one of our previous speakers, Dr. Revi Sterling, did an incredible job explaining to us the gender digital divide and how technology is a game changer in development work. She said it's not about technology, it's about information poverty. Can you explain how World Vision and Strong Women, Strong World is addressing these issues in your work?
Absolutely. And I failed to mention the importance of technology partners such as yourself up above, but I knew that we would get there. So let me start, as I said earlier, access to clean water is absolutely the tip of the spear, because unless you have water, you're not going to be able to participate in any other type of activities, education, health, economics, etc. So we are using a platform called mWater. It's a free open access data management platform with tools to collect, analyze, collaborate using modern digital and mobile technology. And it's one of the first steps in improving water, sanitation, hygiene services to create reliable data systems so that we're able to track our impact. World Vision is the largest user of mWater. And we have a sped up version of a video that Brittany's going to show right now that shows the mapping and uploading of 100,000 water points between 2021 and 2023 in mWater. And each glowing dot represents an actual water point tracked and managed by World Vision.
Wow.
So the impact on gender, as you can imagine, is tremendous. This means that women and girls now have access to water within a 30-minute round trip walk. And in many times, we're even elevating that to water taps in their own communities. Therefore, household health is improved, household education is improved, and household economic opportunities are improved, especially for the women and for the girls. And then let me talk about economic. And so now that we've got access to water, sanitation and hygiene, then let's look at the economic empowerment piece. And we are intentionally targeting women. The vast majority of our portfolio, especially in savings groups, are women. Women are the ones that sit together, they collaborate, they save, they borrow from one another, and they learn financial literacy, they learn how to save, they learn how to borrow, they learn how entrepreneurial skills, and all of that is being done now. I saw it in Kenya where they're keeping all their books. You can see here they're doing their bookkeeping manually. Now they're transferring into data collection so that they're doing it. Everybody has a phone everywhere you go. And so they're uploading into their phones how much they're saving, how much they're borrowing, how many shares they own of the savings group. So that is incredible. And then the next step is going to be, how do they access microfinance loans? And all of that is now being digitized in the sense that you can borrow on your phone, you can pay back on your phone, and you're not having to make the long distances to be able to do that. As well as another opportunity that we have in there is that for loans that are taken out, there's a small insurance plan that covers the borrower. That's all being managed digitally. So that is very, very impressive. It was wonderful to see it at work. I visited a very, very remote community in Samburu, Kenya, and these women it was forgotten. It took us an hour and a half flight and a 2.5 hour drive. And it was this forgotten community. And they now have beautiful access to water. And they're sitting in a savings group learning how to make soap in a bucket that they're stirring, but they're keeping their records on their phone. And so, you know, the technology maybe wasn't there with the stirring and the making of the soap, but the technology was there on how they're able to do that. And then they'll be able to access microfinance. One of the things that I want to add to that is we can talk about technology, we can talk about good programming, but the thing that really touched my heart is that women are women. So when they're making their soap, that now that they have the water, they can wash their clothes, they can wash their bodies and everything, but they were adding fragrance to it. And it really was beautiful to see that though they live very remotely, they live very difficult lives, they still had pride in how they looked and how they smelled. And I thought that was absolutely wonderful. Then let me talk to you a little bit about what M Health, and it's a low cost digital platform that we use to collect and analyze information that helps community health workers, that we mobilize clinics and hospitals make the best decisions for the communities that we're serving in. And community health workers are training and equipping volunteers with vital health information directly to their neighbors, especially families and pregnant women, on really how we're walking with pregnant women, prenatal and postnatal, for those first 1,000 days of the baby's life to ensure that they have life. So I think that's about all. I mean, I could go into more, but I mean, we're intentionally trying to really bring technology and digital access to higher levels of integration into all of the work that we're doing.
Incredible. And it's a beautiful reminder too, that the technology is often an accelerator or an enabler of understanding those needs first, right? Rather than the other way around, where here's a solution, just use it. And we forget that there is the demand side of the technology, that there is a natural need, a natural desire to make a change, whatever that may be. And your example of water and health, those deep root reasons really help to give technology and technology use that purpose-driven backbone, if you will. So I really appreciate that.
Yeah.
I did want to just check quickly, and Angie, you may be able to tell me more quickly if there are any questions in the chat, anything that's come up for anyone. Please feel free to put those in the chat. Otherwise, I have a couple of prepared questions that I'd love to kick off with to continue the conversation. So I'm so interested in, you know, where people are right now. And I know you just got back from a trip And you've been in this work for years. It's just incredible. So what would you say is top of mind for you today? Like
Mm.
what is the thing you're thinking about most today?
Um, that, that is a wonderful question, but I'd say that you know, as evidenced, you know, I've been at this 30 years and I wonder when it's time to say, oh, I'm not going to do this anymore. But I have to say that the minute I get into the field and I see those women and men and children having a different opportunity for life. Their lives will be changed forever by some of the things that we have the ability to bring to it, not on our own, but with many partners and all, and changing their lives for the future. Um, I can't imagine not doing this till the end of my days. So that is on the personal front. On the professional front is really trying to make sure we have an audacious goal of 150 million women. How can we continue to be evidence-based, impact-driven in the work that we deliver in the field? And then how do we involve more women here in the US? By 2030, 2/3 of all the private wealth in the United States is going to be owned or managed by women. How do we involve them to use their voice, how to use their resources, their influence, and their relationships to really be a part of that change on the
Mm.
behalf of women and girls? So that's kind of wakes me up, keeps me awake sometimes, and keeps me going.
Yeah, I love that. It speaks to this idea of the N50 for Womenkind team itself. You know, we come from all different kinds of organizations, right? From big tech giants to satellite to power to edge solutions and applications, large and small NGOs around the world, academia, as you mentioned before. What advice would you give to women who are in those organizations? If you kind of switch audiences a little bit, what advice would you give to women in some of these N50 organizations um, to help them center the needs of women and girls, even if that isn't maybe a direct driver of their core business?
Right.
What would you say?
Well, first of all, as you said earlier in our conversation today, um, that the the problems that we see in the world are huge, and we are not going to make it on our own. We're not going to accomplish these things on our own. We're not going to achieve the desired results on our own. So we do have to come together. So one of the first steps that everybody that's out there listening and part of ND50 and you know, all of you that are coming together of creating community, that is a great first step. Secondly, is I would encourage us all to, and I do this on a frequent basis myself. Otherwise, I feel I become irrelevant. But what is it that I'm absolutely passionate about? Do I know everything that I can possibly learn about it? Do I have a personal mission statement to achieving that goal? And then do I find who I want to do it with? Who is the group I want to do it with? Who is the organization I want to do with it? And then take action, whatever kind of action that is. And so everybody within whatever company they're in, organization they're in, there is something that you can do, but you have to be very, I call missionally driven and passionate for the long-term sustainability of it. And it's good to refresh that on a frequent basis, especially when we have bad days and, or, you know, or days that are more challenging than others, but really what gives you life. And I'd say that everyone that you're impacting through the work that you're leading, Erin, is providing that space to find what their path and their journey is.
I love that. Love that. It is connecting those dots between passion and action that it seems like there's something pretty special right there.
Absolutely.
We do have a question from the Q&A from Emma. I love the notion of liberating men within your family and building equitable relationships. How much do you see this as a way of changing lives in the World Vision projects? Do you encounter cultural resistance?
Uh, we do. And we do encounter differences based on culture and all, but that is part of the mindset change that we do with both men and women. It's through a program that we called Empowered Worldview. It's really how were we created? How were we created to be in rightful relationship with one another is one of the themes that is discussed and worked on. Also, men cares, how to get men to think differently and approach it differently, and understand that men have been at a higher level for a very, very long time. And then women, we're trying to get them up to the same level so that they can go further together. And so it's really a reconciliatory message. We were in a community in Samburu, a different community in Samburu, and one of the men got up and was talking about that now the women have this 10 kilometers of pipeline. They now have access, and they're able to do more, start small businesses and things of that nature. But when he first started, he said, we used to call the women that were sitting under the tree our donkeys. And we all got very incensed at hearing that. But through the clarification of the translation, it was, we did not respect them or value them or consider them more than donkeys to fetch water and firewood and build our homes. And he said, but now we know that we are together. And so I think that it's not an easy job to really change mindsets, but it's really to replace harmful practices with better practices in communities.
Wow.
I hope that answers your question, Emma.
Wow. Thank you for that. Would you tell us a little bit about the role of mentorship as you see it, the important role of mentorship, either how it shows up in projects or just in your own work? Can you talk about women-led mentorship potentially? That's
Yes.
something we've been discussing as well.
Yeah, that's a wonderful question. I'll talk a little bit about it in the programs first, and then then I'll talk about it personally and with my team and beyond. In the field, what we're seeing is, for example, when we do access to clean water, sanitation, and hygiene, there is a water committee that manages the water source. They manage the fees collection. They manage the distribution of the water, the repairs of it. And women are at least half, if not more, a part of that management committee. And what we watch is that those women that naturally step into a leadership role become mentors for other women in their community and in their groups, and a great influence to young girls to see and imagine themselves in those roles. We see the same things with the savings groups. So when savings groups come together, and they're usually 20 to 25 members, they come together, there's natural leaders that emerge through that. And they may be the entrepreneurs that are going to start their, businesses, go for bigger loans, do different things. But then there are others that are just but working to improve their households at a smaller scale, right? But they all are mentoring one another, helping one another how to develop and grow their incomes, how to they step in. They have a social fund. If one of them has a problem, they all step in and they help meet that need. So that is really important, I believe, to really come around in a communal type mentorship role that I think is really important. Mm-hmm. Myself personally, I love the work that we do in the field. I love the changes that we make in community in the field. But my gets my heart really excited and really gives me the passion to keep on going is when I watch a woman here understand that she has power to use her voice, to meet with a congressional leader, and to advocate for bills that are important to women and girls and those in poverty, to meet with others of influence, such as what you're trying to do here today, is really trying to get them to own this and how to be able to do that. And then women philanthropists that step into a leadership role in intentional financial decision making to impact the lives of women and girls and children and men, boys and men. So, you know, that is really, really exciting. And that comes from mentorship. It comes from walking alongside somebody, coaching, being a part of their lives, being trusted, and then where they get wind in their sails on their own. It's like a dandelion, you know, the little puffy flower, and all you got to do is give it a little flick and then it goes, right?
I love that. I love that. One of the things we've been talking about as a For Womenkind team is the role of mentorship and how that takes on such beautiful forms, whether it's and truly kind of embracing the partnership principles, right? Of trying to break down the barriers of like hierarchy of someone is in a role of greater power or lesser power. It's more about partnership and that shared reciprocity between people. And so we've been thinking about what might that look like to have a mentorship program that connects potentially N50 women in different organizations around the world with project leads on the ground, and what that might open up in terms of all kinds of things versus learning directly on the ground what is happening and how interventions are felt firsthand, and what kind of insights might someone in an N50 organization provide to someone navigating on the ground. So I love this, and I think I'm going to use that dandelion thinking in how connected that approach is around partnership and mentorship.
Right. It's absolutely critical. And you know, we either do it formally or we do it informally. You know, I have those that have mentored me that I do a regular check-in once a year and say, where do you see me at my best and where do you see me at my worst, and what are your thoughts? And so I do that on a regular basis, and I have others that I do it with, you know, globally and here at home. And so it's we need it both ways. We need it coming towards us and we need to pour out, and by being in the middle of that, we become the wonderful recipients of both, right? Yeah. Influencing from both directions.
Absolutely. What do you think, what do you see for yourself in the next 3 to 5 years?
In the next 3 to 5 years, I see that I see that we have greater impact in the field, evidence-based impact in the field, and we are far more intentional about inclusion of women and girls in our work. I still go places and it's shocking to me how far behind we are, not necessarily as an organization, but as a society, a global community of citizenship, and to see that. And so that is my hope, that we can be far better and have made significant progress, that we've hit that 150 million mark. And then personally is that I would have the wisdom and the knowledge and truly the discernment of how to build strong women, strong world to be greater under somebody else's leadership than mine, and really equipping the next phase that's going to go broader and further than what I can never do. So
you've set a high bar for sure.
Well, thank you for that, but I know that there's somebody out there that's more energetic, smarter, and far more informed and relevant than I am. And so, and that's what I'm hoping that we can put into place very solidly.
Well, your knowledge and wisdom is super inspiring. Do you have one last piece of advice for our listenership here about how to always center the experience of women and girls? How do we do that better?
I would say that the first thing to do, my greatest advice would be, is get started. You're started here by being part of Womenkind. So that is wonderful, but start taking some intentional personal action towards that. Nothing's going to be perfect, but you can't be guided or directed if you're not walking. And so you've got to start walking, and that will, you'll find that maybe you need to go to the left, maybe go to the right, go this way, go that way, but that can't happen unless you get started. Just get started with something in some way within your immediate sphere of influence. I read a book once that was called Men Are Like Waffles and Women Are Like Spaghetti. And men have a tendency to think a little bit more compartmentalized, but we're kind of messy, right? We're all over everything. We got kids, we've got this, we've got that going on. And so just sort of relish that, embrace that, celebrate that we are spaghetti and we like to touch all things and just take some action.
I love that. I love that. Keep moving forward and
Mhm.
and not standing by, right? Like
Right.
getting into the arena. And something you said earlier really resonated with me too around data, that collecting disaggregated data, that's going to help tell the story of
Yes.
any project, big or small, but you have to center that experience and collect it. Well, Kathryn, I can't thank you enough for this time today. This has been so special. I've been looking forward to it for quite some time, and I'm glad your traveling is done and you're back and safe. And we appreciate so much that you've spent this time with us today, sharing your wisdom, sharing your story and your experience. It's an incredible legacy that you have built through your program at World Vision, through Strong Women, Strong World, Strong Women. And we appreciate you so much and look forward to our next conversation with you. I know I am. And on behalf of this entire group and those listening, I'm sure that they've enjoyed it as well. So thank you so much. We appreciate it.
Yeah. Thank you, Erin. And you mentioned legacy. I'll do one final statement, is legacy should not be what people say or do after we're dead. It should be what we're doing right now and how we involve them. So let's have a living legacy. How about that?
Fantastic. And
Okay.
I don't know if there may be one more slide to show. If so, we'll go ahead and put that up
Oh,
as well.
yes. If you would like to know more about Strong Women, Strong World, please feel free to come onto our website and use the email address or the QR code. We'd love to have you join us.
Fantastic. Fantastic. Thank you so much. And again, we'll have this recorded. So if anyone missed that or needs to get that again, I'm happy if you want to email me directly. I'd love that. And we'll connect those dots. Thanks, everyone. Have a wonderful rest of your day today. And we look forward to much partnership in the future.
Thank you so much, Erin. Have a great rest of your week.
Thanks, Kathryn. Take care.
Thank you.